everything changes.
Yo guys, Kieran Hedley here. Today we're going to do a rotator cuff video, how to stretch it out and how to strengthen it as well. So what is a rotator cuff? The rotator cuff is basically a complex of muscles, small tiny little muscles that help stabilize the shoulder, help mobilize the shoulder, and also help position the shoulder where it should be. So you've got 4 rotator cuff muscles. The first one is an internal rotation muscle, which is called the subscapular. So that's actually located right underneath your scapula, so it comes all the way from underneath the scapula and it joins onto the humerus head, which is up here in the front, and it's used so much. The reason being is because a lot of people have desk jobs, right? So, or even there's a lot of waiters around that will usually be writing something like writing down notes or writing down someone's order, and basically this creates a habit and creates tightness around the anterior delt and around the pec minor, which is the top part of your chest, and that gets really tight. And as this gets really tight, this becomes general for everyday life because you're stretching out your back and tightening your front, and then it's creating tightness in the subscapular because it's constantly being contracted and not being stretched out, and therefore you get much weaker external rotating muscles and a lot stronger internal rotating muscles. Now when this comes to exercise, this can cause pain, impingement, this can just cause so many problems, honestly, especially in the shoulder. A lot of people get shoulder problems. This is one of the main concerns when it comes to lifting weights, is really shoulder problems because people aren't using the right technique, people aren't exercising precaution before they go into these exercises. The reason being is because you're getting impingement. You're getting impingement because there's not enough space between the humerus head and the glenoid and clavicle, which is at the socket of the shoulder. So the shoulder is a ball and socket joint, right? The shoulder mobilizes around like this. So this is a humerus, with the humerus head as a ball, and then the socket, which is a glenoid, and the clavicle up the top of the glenoid, and this is just the socket in the area that the shoulder mobilizes around. And so when you've got that tightness, especially in the subscapular, this is going to actually pull it even closer into the clavicle and the glenoid. If you're doing a certain movement, this can create pinching in certain areas. Just imagine nerves being between the area of my 2 hands. So what happens is when this area is really tight and you go for a certain motion, this can create impingement because there's pinching of the nerve there. And that's going to create this shooting pain all the way down through to your fingers. If you've experienced that, you've probably got exactly what I've got. So I've got that problem too. Anyway, so that's the internal rotator. Your external rotators is your supraspinatus, your infraspinatus, and your teres minor, all running down your back in that order around the clavicle bone. So these areas are generally very weakened because you're not utilizing them as much as you should be to create a good posture. So this is something that you really need exercise precaution with, making sure that you're strengthening these areas but also stretching them out, because otherwise they do become tight and therefore you're not able to work them properly when you're trying to exercise these areas. So I hope I haven't been too complicated. I'm going to simplify it a little bit now. So basically, in the most general terms possible, what happens when you've got weak rotator cuffs or tight rotator cuffs is this dispositions your shoulder or dispositions the tendons and the bones in the shoulder. So when you do certain movements, there's going to be pain. So these exercises and stretches may help that. So make sure you do these before you exercise, even just general day. You don't even have to be working out to have to do these. Make sure that you exercise these and utilize these as much as possible. All right, so first thing we're going to cover is we're going to cover the subscapular. So we're going to cover the subscapular, how you can strengthen it, and then how you can stretch it out, because you need to do both. You more so need to stretch it out because it generally is quite strong. So first off, if you're going to strengthen the subscapular, what you want to do is you want to tuck in your elbow right into your hip. You're going to pull your shoulder back and activate your lats, which is this muscle running right underneath your armpit, so that kind of winging area that's running underneath your shoulder. So you're going to try and activate that by tightening that area, and this is going to position your shoulder in a point where you're going to take away some activation from the anterior delt, which is the muscles in your shoulder, and you're going to put it more onto the rotator cuffs. This is the area that we want to work, obviously, because we're trying to exercise these areas. So what we're going to do, tuck that right in, and using a band, really light resistance, very, very light, I'm just going to slowly come in and slowly come out. Slowly come in, slowly come out. Do that 8 to 10 times. Eventually you'll start to feel it, a kind of a tightening around this area here, so just underneath your armpit and running through to the front of your shoulder there. If you can feel that, then you are working your subscapular. If you're only feeling the bulge of your shoulder working, then you're not working it. So just lighten the resistance and try again and see how that goes for you. And then one more, again with the light resistance, keeping your elbows flared but your shoulders tucked in, so activating those back muscles again, but very slowly, and try feel the tension around the subscapular. So what I find sometimes when I'm doing this exercise, I'll get some clicking in my shoulder because I still have that problem. So what you want to do is you want to tuck your shoulders in, You're going to bring your elbows in slightly so they're not completely flared, and you're just going to perform the action then. There you go. And now I'm actually clicking free. So that's how to strengthen the subscapular, and now to stretch it out. Get a broomstick or a stick of any kind. You're going to hold it behind your elbow, so you're just going to hold on to it so it falls behind your elbow. You're just going to reach behind, and you're just going to pull it forward. So don't come back, you're not going to hyperextend your back. You're going to keep a good posture, and then perform the movement. Keeping your elbow slightly in front if you get the clicking, and we're just going to really stretch it out. Hold that for about 20 seconds. You should really feel that stretch all the way through the bicep tendon. So the reason being is because the bicep tendon is attached to the shoulder, right? So you're going to feel that stretch through the bicep too, but you also feel that stretch coming all the way through underneath your armpit as well. So it's a really good stretch for the subscapular. So now we've done the internal rotator, we're going to do the external rotators. So most of these external rotators are going to actually work all three of the external rotating muscles. One thing to do is to go underhand, holding the band, and just stretching out slowly with light resistance, keeping your shoulder in good position, not bringing your shoulders forward. Yeah, you're going to keep the upper back tight. Just imagine a pencil between your shoulder blades, and you're just squeezing that pencil with your shoulder blades, and then you're just squeezing back. And try overhand. And now getting light resistance again with the bands, and we're bringing our elbows up and our shoulders down, tucked in, and we're just pulling back. Just the opposite movement that we used for the internal rotator. Now another one is a mobilizer and also a stabilizer. So what we're going to do is we're going to tuck our elbow back into our hip, exactly the same positioning as when we were doing the internal rotation. The idea with all this is we're not wanting our shoulder to come forward into a pronation. So wanting to keep that shoulder up as much as we can, create as much resistance as possible without the shoulder coming forward. So I'll show you. What can happen when you're doing this movement is sometimes the shoulder will come forward a little bit. We don't want that. We want to keep it in good position. We're just going to pull against the band. You just feel that tightness around the back of the shoulder. You'll feel a little bit around the front of the shoulder as well. You're just trying to keep that area tight so it's not coming forward, and that's going to help stabilize and strengthen the external rotators. And then one more, once you've done that, we're going to flare the elbow out a little bit. Okay, so this one's a little bit more challenging because you're going to be wanting to use the bigger muscles in the shoulder and the bigger muscles in the back. So really it's really about this mind muscle thing. So once you've kind of developed that feeling, stabilizing the muscle in this position, we're going to flare the elbow. We're going to do the exact same thing and trying to use those muscles, the external rotator muscles, to be able to do this. So remember, make sure that your shoulder doesn't come forward when you're doing this. Keep it in a good position. Alright, so we learned how to strengthen the external rotators. Now we're going to learn how to stretch them out as well, because this is important, because this doesn't happen very often either. So what you want to do is, you can do this standing, I'm just kneeling because I'm going to show you something else. But what you want to do is you want to reach behind your back, right? Pull your shoulders back, and bringing your hands around like this, keeping the back of your hand against your stomach, against your body, and you're going to reach around, you're going to hunch over a little bit, and you're going to feel a stretch through your upper back. And basically, if you keep going, you should feel a good stretch. If you're not feeling it, that is absolutely fine. It means your external rotators are stretched out quite well. So what you want to do now is you want to get into a squat position, and doing that same thing, you're going to bring your elbows on the inside of your knees, and they're going to close in your knees as much as possible. You should really feel that stretch up in the back of the shoulder and up around the upper back as well. And that is really tight for me, so I know I need to do the stretch a lot more often. But yeah, make sure that you do strengthen and stretch out both internal and external to decrease the chance of injury or any problems in the shoulder as well, and even help assist in the healing process of shoulder problems and shoulder pain as well. Alright guys, so that's basically this video on how to stretch and strengthen the rotator cuff muscles. So just utilize these pre-exercise. If you're exercising your upper body at all, making sure that you're doing all these exercises before you get into your movements. One more thing as well, if you aren't exercising, but you're still getting these shoulder problems, that is absolutely fine. This is perfect for that as well. Just making sure that you're getting this done about 4 times a week. That should be the goal, about 3-4 times a week minimum. If you could do it every day, that would be amazing. But it literally takes about 5 minutes to do the whole thing, the whole routine, and it will be so beneficial. It will just really help reposition your shoulders and stretch and strengthen those areas that need to be stretched and need to be strengthened. Anyway guys, that's it from me. Follow me on Snapchat. I'm getting a lot better with this whole Snapchat thing, so make sure that you really get onto that. Hedley Fitness is my name, just one word. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Stay healthy guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel. Catch you later. Chur.